Welcome to a new season of Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily Taylor. I'm a mediator, developmental psychologist, conflict resolution teacher, and mom of 5. And just like you, I've had my fair share of conflict. Over time, I've realized conflict isn't something to fear. It's simply part of life. What matters is how we respond, and if we have the tools to handle it with confidence and care. And that's what this podcast is all about. In each episode, you'll hear me coach someone through a real conflict they're facing. You'll listen as they share their story, and I'll guide them towards solutions that align with their goals and values. Along the way, I'll point out skills and strategies you can use in your own life, whether at work, at home, or in your other relationships. So whether you've been with us since season 1 or you're brand new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's jump in. Today I'm coaching Sarah. She's in her 20s and growing increasingly frustrated with one of her closest friends. How should she proceed? That's what we're here to explore. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very excited to be here.
Tell me a little bit about the conflict you're facing right now.
Yeah, I have a friend. We've been friends for about 7 years now, so quite a long time. And I grew up in a military family. I don't have many friendships that I've kept on for that amount of time. So it feels like kind of special to me to have this person who's known me for so long. But I would say that this friendship has started to feel like very one-sided. And there's been a lot of like different frustrations around this friendship with this girl.
Can we call her something?
Yes. Let's call her Julie.
Okay.
Julie and I were friends in high school. I was going through like a very rough time. I was in a relationship that was kind of really dragging me down, and she was there for me for a lot of it. And she's like a very strong support system, and she put in a lot of effort and like really showed me that she cared very deeply about me. And then when we like both graduated, we ended up going to college in the same state. But I found myself like kind of getting like exhausted when I would spend time with her. Because she had like some pretty also hard things going on in her life. Not anything like I think uncommonly hard, but just like stresses. And it seemed like the only thing that she ever could like focus on was these things that were going wrong. And it didn't bother me at first because she'd been there for me when I was going through something, very hard. And I know that people go through times of their lives where they can't put as much effort into relationships as maybe you think they should. And then there was like this series of a couple months where I was reaching out and like asking her, like, when are we going to get together? Like, what are we going to do? And she, as a consistent pattern, we would set something up. We would make plans. It would come to the time of the plans. And she would like cancel like very last minute, like 6 times in a row.
Oh, wow.
And it got pretty like, I was like, wow, like she's like really unreliable. And so when I got engaged, I could tell that she like wasn't very happy for me, which was an interesting feeling to process of like, she's not happy that I'm in a happy relationship. I think maybe that she's even a little disappointed that maybe she's losing me as a friend. And also, I think she's pretty anxious about relationships, and she has had some, pretty bad luck in relationships. And I don't think it made her very happy to see me like succeeding in a relationship. We'd always like talked about being bridesmaids at each other's weddings. And we like, when we were, 16, and we were like, oh, like we're going to have a joint wedding. We'll get married together and we'll serve mac and cheese at the reception. Those kind of conversations that you have like with your friends. And I like never asked her to be a bridesmaid. I like sat down and thought about it. And I was like, on my wedding day, like, do I want to have to worry like if she's going to show up on time? Like, is she going to be like happy for me? And I was like, no, like I'm going to like make this personal choice for myself that I'm not going to have her be part of my wedding party. And we never had a conversation about it.
Oh, no. You never had a conversation?
Yes, which was very bad on me. I did not handle this situation very well. We never had a conversation about it. I never told her that I had bridesmaids. And then I invited her, like we had like some special stuff where we were just having like immediate family and friends, immediate and some extended family and friends come, and she was invited to all of that. And she showed up like at the reception, like halfway through the dinner, like skipped like the whole thing.
Why do you think she did that?
And I honestly don't know. Again, we've never had a conversation about this. Are you
sure you don't know?
I'm not sure that she like, I don't know if she knew that I was having bridesmaids and she didn't come because she wasn't included, because we'd never had that conversation.
Interesting, though, that you held on to it because, right, when you started talking about her, you said, I grew up in a military family. We traveled a lot and I didn't have many friends, but I did have this one friend.
Yeah.
It sounds like she was a significant support to you.
Yeah.
So what does she symbolize to you? Like, why hang on to someone that cancels on you?
I think that the time that I knew her was like a pretty like monumental time in my life. Like in my development, like I think I learned a lot of stuff about myself, and then also had like these like extremely trying circumstances. I was like severely depressed at the time, and like it was just not in a good place. And so she's connected to all of these like major kind of life milestones that happened like early in my life. And so there feels like some kind of special connection. And I think just in general, I'm not one to let go of relationships.
Okay. I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
How long should you stay friends with someone?
Like eternally.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of believe that.
Do you have other friends that support you in the way that you need?
I do, yeah. I actually have a couple of like really close friends. I have a friend that her and her husband like moved down the street from me, like specifically so that they could like live within like a couple minutes, and we, you know, do dinners every week, and we're extremely close. And I have they're like definitely are like closest, my closest friends, but there's a couple that are similarly like pretty close and invested.
Hey friends, how long do you think you should stay friends with someone? Eternally is pretty long. But given Sarah's history of moving around during her childhood, it makes sense she'd be reluctant to let go of important friendships. Yet knowing when you might be growing out of a friendship can ease a lot of psychological stress. People absolutely can grow out of friendships, and research on social relationships shows it's a natural part of life. Psychologists also note that growing apart can be healthy. It frees up space for deeper connections with friends who align more closely with your current self, while still allowing positive memories of past relationships to remain. In short, friendships are dynamic. Some endure, some evolve, and some naturally fade as people grow. Here are a few signs that might mean you're growing out of a friendship. 1, your interests or values are drifting apart. Conversations feel less engaging because your priorities just aren't aligned anymore. 2, talking feels like a chore. Instead of excitement, reaching out feels forced or exhausting. 3, emotional closeness fades. You don't feel understood or supported in the same way you once did. 4, time and energy feel unbalanced. You might notice you're giving more than you're getting, or that the friendship takes more than it gives. 5, you feel lighter. Spending less time together doesn't bother you. Sometimes it even feels freeing. Sarah is experiencing some of these signs, and you may be experiencing some of these with people in your life whom you were once close with. The takeaway here isn't that friendships are good or bad. It's about being intentional with your energy and investing in relationships that really match your current self. There is always the possibility that the friendship may be rekindled at a later time. Let's get back to the session with Sarah and see if there's anything else about her relationship with Julie that should influence her next steps. Is this a reciprocal friendship or is this something else?
No, this is definitely not a reciprocal friendship. And I think a couple years ago, I kind of like came to terms with that fact. And I was like, oh, like I'll keep her as a friend and I'll just kind of know that like this is kind of a one-sided friendship. But like a couple years ago, I determined that that was like still important for me to keep up this friendship, even if it was one-sided.
Because?
I don't know.
That's what I'm just, well, so what does that mean though? Like if you're keeping up, if it's like a one-sided friendship is, what is that?
Yeah, I think this is why I'm thinking of it is because earlier like this week, she texted me and was like, hey, we should get together sometime soon. And I was like thinking and I was like calculating in my head, like, oh, is there a time like the next couple of weeks, even like next month or two that like I would be able to put aside time to like come up with something for us to do together and like go and do something. And then as I was going through that process, I realized like, oh, she like has never invited me to go do something. Like,
so this is unusual.
Terms. Well, no, the reach out is not unusual of like, hey, we should go do something. But she's never like made the plan after that point. She's like reached out, you know, several times and been like, hey, let's like get together. But I'm always the one who like comes up with the thing to do. And then.
Okay. So continuing this friendship, not saying it's all about you, but what does that do for you?
I think it's just, it keeps me in contact with someone that I've known for a long time.
Okay. Do you want to be closer to this person?
Maybe someday is kind of how I feel right now. It's been like difficult to be close to her because there's a lot of like negativity kind of there, or this is going to sound bad, but like, you know, if she kind of like changed her attitude and, you know, have a more positive outlook, then I would be like very happy to be close to her.
So you've clarified in terms of this particular person and what you need in your life right now. It sounds like you don't need any more negativity and you're not too interested in it, but there's never been a clarity between the two of you about what your friendship is? Or do you think it's clear?
I think it's probably not clear. We've never had a conversation about it. I think I kind of debated having a conversation about it and then like decided not to. I think because I could kind of see how it would go. And, you know, and she would probably be very, you know, emotional and I'm so sorry that you feel that way, and would probably like be like, I'll do better and I'll put in effort, and then like wouldn't do that. And I could just see that like it would be hard for me to actually follow through with like any boundary setting that I wanted from her.
Okay. So it sounds like you have a strategy here, right? And I think it's actually interesting to clarify because there is research on how many people we can have in close proximity to us. Like you're newly married, you have like you have this deep relationship, and then others who maybe are single and not in that situation, they may have like a greater capacity beyond, you know, a spouse or a partner.
Yeah.
And there is an imbalance, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that she's reaching out to you, there's probably a need for friendship is my guess. But interestingly, like, I mean, just laying it out what it is someone makes a bid for friendship or connection, and then there has to be reciprocation of that, right?
Yeah.
And in life, it's often pretty rare to find people who are ready to equally reciprocate and we just understand each other and want to spend that much time with each other. So I'm wondering in your life, like the eternal part of friendship that you mentioned, I thought was interesting because if you weren't like in close contact with this person, would it hurt you?
I think like the idea of losing the friendship would like hurt me, but the like actual friendship itself, I don't think would.
I bring it up also because I did student body officer in high school, so I was part of putting together a reunion, and I left my hometown of Palo Alto when I was about 18. I came back briefly a couple times, but otherwise have not lived in that area too long. And when I went to my high school reunion, it was interesting because I was with some of my high school friends that helped me through hard times. They were very close. And I have this very tender fondness for them. And I have an open door. Like if they were passing through Utah and I got to see them, I would be very happy to see them.
Yeah.
But in terms of my capacity to maintain a close friendship with most of them, it's pretty small. I've changed so much and my life is so different from then. I have to choose very wisely how I spend my time. I'm just wondering if any of that resonates with you or if you've thought about that in that way.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why like I kind of have a conflict about this friendship because I want to keep it, but I don't want to sacrifice time with any of my other relationships to keep up this relationship because it's like, lower on the priority list than, my husband, than my very close friends, than, a lot of other people in my life that I need to keep up relationships with or want to. And so I think that's, when earlier this week I received this text, it's like, hey, can we hang out? I mean, that's what's going through my head is like, I have like 5 hours a week to dedicate to friendships. If I dedicate, some of those hours to you, like that means someone else that that's putting more effort into our relationship is not going to get to see me.
So listeners, let's talk about triage. It's a process of prioritizing where you'll focus your time or attention. In order to decrease your stress and strengthen the most important friendships in your life, you may need to triage your friendships into different levels of intimacy. Research shows that most of us can really only maintain about 3 to 5 close friends, with maybe 1 or 2 who are more deeply personal. Knowing this can help you focus your time and energy on the relationships that matter most, instead of spreading yourself too thin. I had an experience recently where someone who I actually don't know hardly at all wanted to spend time with me. And I actually enjoy seeing my closest friends every morning when I'm hiking. It sustains me. I get exercise, I talk with friends, and it's a vital part of my daily routine. So when this person I didn't know very well asked to spend time with me, they wanted some conflict advice, I gave that hiking time up to be with them. And afterwards, that person wanted to spend more time with me. But it took away from my daily routine. And it was interesting because I actually had to really clarify my own values. One value is to serve others. Another value is to have close friendships where I'm supported. In my life, I need to be very deliberate in saying, I can do these occasional diversions from my routine, but I can't do it too often or else I'll feel the difference. In Sarah's case, if she only has 5 hours a week to be with friends, maybe she only sees Julie every 6 weeks or so. It feels weird to strategize your time like this, but it can actually be pretty wise if you know yourself. Okay, let's get back to Sarah.
I think that kind of one of the thoughts I've had around this, or one of maybe like the solutions that I've come up with, is my husband and I really like to like get groups of friends together. Like we're doing a get together in a couple weeks, like we're a pseudo housewarming party. And I was like, okay, like I'll invite her to that. So I sent her like the little Canva invite of like the party, and she responded, "That sounds fun. I'll probably have to be reminded about this." And that was just like, oh,
okay, so what's your thought? That's like a mini conflict that represents your friendship,
yes,
right? It
yeah.
is like a perfect example. What are you responsible for?
What am I responsible for?
Yeah, like what do you want to do?
I don't want to do anything. I'm like, I sent her the invite. Like the thoughts that are kind of running through my head, and these are kind of some negative thoughts, but I'm like, you have to be reminded, like, one, like, do you not care about our friendship? Like, I'm giving you like an opportunity to see me, and maybe it's not maybe what you were expecting because you wanted one-on-one time, and I'm saying, hey, we're having some people over, come to this thing. And the second thought that like came into my mind was like, do you not have a calendar like that you can put it in, like to remind yourself? Like this feels like something that like kind of steps past the boundaries of like our friendship, of like me having to like remind you.
Okay, so that's a boundary crossed. It's a little one,
yeah,
but it's a symbolic one.
Yes.
Especially given the 6 times canceling.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
So are you comfortable maintaining that boundary of not reaching out to remind her?
I think so. I think so because I was like, I can feel how frustrated I am about it. And it's also extremely easy to not reach out to someone. It's a lot more work to actually like take an action than to not take an action.
Okay. Given your, again, interwoven values, right? Friendship is eternal. There's, some friends you may grow out of, right? Should be reciprocal. What kind of response do you think is warranted? Just concerning your values.
It's a great question because I haven't responded yet. This was a couple days ago and I have not responded because I don't know how to respond.
So what are your options?
My options are to like not respond at all.
Okay.
Which I'm typically pretty against. I don't like ghosting people. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a response that warranted another response, but
okay,
to say like, hey, sorry, like I can't remind you that this party's going on. Can you find a way to like remind yourself?
Okay. Okay.
Or to say like, sure, I'll send you a text the day of, or like, a couple days before. Okay.
So kind of 3 basic options. What do you want to do? I've heard you say that many negative thoughts came into your head. The fact that the request was made.
Yeah, probably I want to do like option number 2, which is to say like, hey, like I'd love for you to come. I don't like think that I have the capacity to remember to remind you. So if there was a way that you could remind yourself about this party, like I'd love to see you there.
Okay. How comfortable do you feel doing that?
I think fairly comfortable, actually.
Okay. What if she comes back with like, you never care, or some kind of thing like trying to make you feel bad about it? What then? Are you okay maintaining that boundary?
Yeah, I think I am. I think because it's gotten to the point where I know that it's bad for me and for her, for me to not like maintain a boundary. And for some reason, this boundary feels like a lot more, it's this very specific instance versus like sitting down and initiating a conversation about like boundaries. Yeah, I think I would be comfortable maintaining that boundary.
Okay. Are you going to be comfortable with yourself? Because it's like I'm even like you kind of sounded hesitant even now. That's why I'm wondering about that. Is there a guilt of maintaining the boundary?
I think that there's a guilt anytime I feel like I've like let someone down or damaged a relationship, even if I like needed to.
Did you damage this relationship?
There's probably things that I could have done better. So even though I don't think that I'm like the perpetrator of the damage in the relationship, I think that I probably am not like guilt-free.
Okay. So the acknowledgement that friendships are two ways,
Yeah.
right? The relationships, there's good and bad on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if we're going back to this specific symbolic request of you to do something extra so that your friendship can be maintained, I'm guessing that that's frustrating to you.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing you nodding your head. That's why I'm saying that. So usually that kind of frustration, irritation, those can be habits of feeling that, but oftentimes I always see our emotions as like kind of a litmus test of needs. Mm-hmm. Like she has needs and you have needs. And it's often a negotiation. The beautiful thing is every once in a while you're with friends where it's just unspoken and it's just super, super easy.
Yeah.
There are valuable people in our lives where it is more of a negotiation, right? And this person, Julie, is making a bid to make you do something for her that it sounds like you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And maybe you may have the desire to do more for her, but capacity may not be as high. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's often when we have to make those decisions, competing values. I'm super tired. I have way too many things to think about, and I still value friendship, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a seesaw. But if the seesaw, I'm just sensing from what we talked about that the seesaw is going one way. Like this is about her. I'm trying to like maintain a friendship, but this is a little too much.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do?
Yeah. I think it's been hard because I've let a lot of things like go in my life right now. Things that maybe like I shouldn't be like I've never been a bad text responder. And just this last like month, 2 months, I've like ghosted unintentionally like so many people because I just like don't have time. Like I forget, like my mental capacity is kind of like filled up. And so I was like pretty like prepared to like not actually ever respond to this text. But I think that the kind of person that I want to be is someone who engages and someone who also like sets boundaries and respects relationships, even if those relationships are like maybe fading, diminishing. So I should probably text her back.
I think just a lot of times we're feeling the conflict inside, and then we're hoping by avoiding that the whole thing will go away. But the research on avoidance is pretty clear that if it's an issue that actually matters to you, the ones that don't matter will actually just kind of like flow down the river. They'll just, kind of disappear. But the ones that matter, they will come out in different ways in your life and kind of with intensity that may be unexpected. So like a little text message of like, hey, why don't you remind me? You're like, that's a little thing, but it is representative of something bigger. And so that emotional response is something to be like, oh, this actually matters to me.
Yeah.
And I think you have the tools and like you've thought through it and clarified a bit how you want to respond. And I'm curious to see how it goes.
I am too.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And I appreciate you being willing to talk about your friendship.
Thank you for having me.
Well, listeners, friendship is just so vital, right? It's kind of what keeps us going, the kind of sweet, joyful part of life. So let's review a few concepts we covered today. Number 1, accept that you can grow out of friendships. Friendships often form around shared interests, values, or life stages. So as people change, moving to a new city, starting a family, switching careers, or adopting new priorities, some relationships no longer fit. This doesn't mean anyone is bad or at fault. It's often just that the emotional energy and time you invest are being redirected to friendships that better match your current life. Number 2, we have a limited capacity to maintain many close friends. So we may need to triage some friendships into different levels of intimacy. Think about your own life, how your personality, your schedule, and even your culture all shape how many deep connections you can realistically sustain. You may need to triage your friendships from the most intimate to more casual friendships, but consider ways to weave less intimate friends into activities that involve less time and effort, especially when you may have been disappointed in the past by their failure to reciprocate. Number 3, notice when a boundary is crossed and respond to it appropriately to keep healthy friendships going. Talking about boundary crossing is nothing new, but it can feel tricky within our friendships that have been based on reciprocity, trust, and previous intimacy. When someone crosses a personal boundary in a friendship, and they're asking for too much, or the relationship starts to feel one-sided, there are a few basic steps to consider to figure out how you want to respond, if at all. First, it's important to notice what's happening inside of you. If you feel drained, tense, or guilty after every interaction, that's your signal something's off balance. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out, they're about staying honest about what you can give while still taking care of yourself. The next step is clarity. Before you talk to your friend, get clear on what's bothering you and what you need instead. Maybe you're always the one listening, or they keep leaning on you for things you don't have the bandwidth for. When you bring it up, stay kind but direct. You might say, I really care about you, but I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately. I need to pull back on how much I can give right now. Simple, honest, no guilt trip, just truth with warmth. And finally, watch how they respond. A healthy friend will respect your limits and maybe even thank you for being honest. If they react with guilt, pressure, or anger, that tells you something about the balance in the friendship. Setting boundaries is actually a form of respect for you and for them. It keeps the friendship, whether super close or more casual, real, sustainable, and rooted in mutual care instead of quiet resentment. Thanks for joining me today. If there's someone in your life who might benefit from listening to this episode, please share it. Because, as I always say, it's not a question of if, but when we're going to experience conflict, and we do much better when we're prepared. The Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily Taylor is a BYU radio podcast. I'd love to connect with you on social media. Find me on Facebook and Instagram at Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily, where I'm sharing more ideas for working through conflict. And if you or someone you know has a conflict that you'd like to discuss on the podcast, send me an email to conflictcoach@byu.edu. And next time, I'll be offering tips on how to handle some of the most common conflicts that come up over the holidays. It's a special episode. I hope you'll join me.